Hey, welcome back, everybody, to our great, flourishing, and beginning channel here at East Meets West Martial Arts. I'm your host, Hanshi Ken Herforth, and we also
I'm
have
your
us.
host, Soki Bobby
Thank
Briggs.
you, Soki, for joining us and hosting this event.
Yeah, thank
So,
you.
I have a topic I'd like to discuss and get your opinion on, and we can banter back and forth on it, and that is more of the American karate point fighting slash kata tournaments and both the positives and negatives on that. Would that be a good subject to discuss?
Yeah, it sounds good to me, brother.
Okay. Well, what I brought up is, I'm not really a big fan of American fighting karate, but I would also, in my dojos, have my students participate in it because I think there's still a very strong positive effect. And so
Hmm.
I would still like to discuss those things and then discuss some of the negatives I see when I enter those
Right.
tournaments. So the one positive I want to get your mind on is I think it's great for people to be exposed to other styles and
Hmm.
camaraderie, meaning other people in different martial arts. I'm not
Right.
so worried that I just want them to see what I'm teaching. I want them to explore, get out there, and then also they make friends that way. And I'd like to
Yeah.
get your thought on that.
Yeah, I agree with you. Um, in my opinion, and we both pretty much see eye to eye on this. In my opinion, um, tournament martial arts has its good and its bad. Um, the way I study martial arts, I don't do it as a sport, and and this is just a personal thing that I have. Uh, Martial arts to me is a way of life. It's not a sport, and it irritates the living crap out of me to even hear the phrase sport karate. I know it's out there, you know, and it has its good points and bad points, but I just, to me, martial arts isn't a sport, it's a way of life. Now, do I think that competition's good? Absolutely. Competition's good in anything because it's going to make you stronger and it's going to make you work harder to be number one, you know. Um, and one of the things that the negative thing that I really have about um, sport karate, if you will, or tournament karate is these people out there that does crap in the tournaments, and you mostly see it with weapons. You don't really see it in forms, but you mostly see it with weapons. Like they'll get like these small toothpick looking bows that's wrapped in some kind of crazy shiny crap, that weighs maybe, I don't know, maybe 6 ounces. And they're throwing it up in the air and spinning and doing the flip and catching it, and stuff like that. I mean, come on. To me, martial arts is practicality.
Right.
It teaches you how to work in practical situations. There's nothing practical about that. And that danger will not work. Um, if you're out on the street. You pick up any kind of stick and do that. The second you throw that thing up in the air and look up for it, that's when I'm going to knock your ass just as cold as you know, either that or kick you between the legs. I mean, I'm like a more of a practical type person, and that is nothing but showmanship, and I don't get into that stuff.
Right. Yeah, it's funny you mentioned the negative parts of it first. The It is the forms that get me the most where it's negative. One, as I'm not the best kata practitioner anyway. So when I see kata, I'm not concerned with athleticism. I'm concerned with
Mhm.
the beauty of precision.
Right.
And what I find the ones with weapons is that they focus on athleticism. So it's
Oh
funny
yeah.
you mentioned the one with the bows when they got this shiny little bow, and I call it
Mhm.
baton,
Yeah.
swirling, because
Baton twirling. That's all it is.
that's what they're really doing. It
Yeah.
reminds me of back in high school. The leader of the marching band always had the baton, and they
Exactly.
throw it, dun,
Yes.
dun, 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 they would throw that
I've
thing
said
around.
that 1,000 times.
Yeah, woo! And,
Yeah.
and and then there's the marching band of the drummers, and the horn players,
Right.
and
Yeah.
and and I just go, oh please, it may
Yeah.
be athletic, good hand-eye coordination, but it has really very little to do with martial arts and more to
Mhm.
do with band marching. I hate to say it that
Oh,
way.
yeah.
That's what it has to do with, and
It's like you're at to me, as far as the weapons goes, and, more specifically the bow, these wrap I don't even know what they're wrapped with, shiny, flashy stuff, that is tumbling and, like you said, marching band stuff added together. to me, that has zero to do with martial arts.
Right. Yeah.
There's a better way to get hand-eye coordination than doing some stupid crap like that. I hate that mess, man.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, I despise it.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like to see a good traditional bow kata,
Right.
and I like to see other weapons katas as long as it's traditional and have practicality to it. I'm more into, the martial arts is martial arts for me. I'm more into studying the bunkai of it, the practical application of it, than see the showmanship. I don't care about your showmanship because it's useless out on the street. But if the weapon's been taught correctly, the bunkai of it, the practical application of it, you can use it all day long on the
Right.
street.
Well, and this is what bothers me with it because I think those type of shorter bow staffs and the way they twirl, they can be
Mhm.
great for kids to learn, like the
Yeah,
plastic or rubber nunchucks, right, or nunchakas, right?
whatever.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
still
yeah.
got different.
I'm using my Bruce Lee talk there.
Get the real chucks, and so if you hit yourself with it, you learn by your
But
mistakes.
right, but when you hit like 12, 13, you're in that adolescent period.
Yeah,
Now it's good to start building up and learning with a real heavy made weapon,
right.
and uh, and I also think it's more beautiful because to me you're not baton twirling anymore.
No,
You're
no.
actually using a weapon in your martial art. And I'm not a big weapons kata fan, anyways. I prefer people who are beautiful at the empty hand kata.
Mhm.
But American sport karate scene, even the freestyle katas, often drive me up a wall. They're
Mhm.
and I this is tell me what you think about it. I don't mind seeing something like Christina Bannon Rodriguez doing that at a kickboxing event
Right.
like at a halftime in between shows. That is a show that's going on promoting these events. That's fine. But in tournament martial arts, I would prefer lack of showmanship and more precision in the kata.
Right. Yeah.
I think that's because in my young days with my kicking ability and my form, I could be the great showman. I'm not trying to say that to brag.
Mhm.
That's just being honest.
Right. Yeah.
It was the precision that was hard for me, and that's why
Yeah.
I admire it so much more.
Mhm.
If you remember back in the days, I could just sit there and throw my roundhouse kick and go boop
Oh,
boop
yeah.
boop boop, turtle it around
Yeah.
and without dropping the
Well, I
leg,
remember in their dojo in Philippines, you used to set rows of toilet paper on people's head and kick it off.
kick it off. Yeah, I
Never touch them.
never touched. I could do it with a
That's
spinning kick
precision.
roundhouse, right? And I could look showy, but boy, to get some of those movements just down and snap it
Yeah.
and keeping that nice hard stance and
Yeah.
move like you're walking on water almost. I mean, there's
Yeah.
a shoo, that's impressive. And then I like the key eyes to be, I think,
Yeah.
few more with more is less.
Yeah.
A good kata, in my opinion, should have 2 to 3 key eyes most.
Mhm.
And I think the reason is because that's when it sparks. And I've been to some of those tournaments in the past where
Oh,
I've
yeah.
taken my students, and every other strike is a key eye.
Oh, yeah.
And the focus now is not the strike anymore. It's
Mhm.
and the face gets all distorted like it's
And
The
it's
Exorcist. You know,
they're really not even key and I refer to it as like a panther in the woods
Yeah,
screaming or a
screaming.
woman getting raped. I mean, that's what it sounds like at some days. They're like, ah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They're
that's not
just
a real key eye.
no, no. And there's this one I saw a long time ago. I imagine it's still on the internet. This kid, and every move she's screaming. Every move.
Yeah, yeah,
Ah! I mean, she's probably a
yeah.
teen. Ah, ah.
And looks like she's possessed by looking in
She
her
does.
eyes.
She does like something
Yeah, I
like
think we're
from,
yeah,
The Exorcist or something. I mean, it's just like
yeah,
and 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 it's just it's a perversion of what's
right,
beautiful, and
exactly,
and I think that's my problem with it. On the positive side, though, is that you can go to these tournaments though, and you can see somebody do a beautiful kata, use their
oh yeah,
athleticism,
hmm
and do a beautiful kata, and 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 then just be wow and be amazed. And
yeah,
sometimes it's a kid who does it, and you just go, whoa, wow, that's. And then I'm humbled because I've never been able
yeah,
to perform those katas that well. The best I ever did at a tournament was second place. And I couldn't even believe I did that,
yeah.
and I think they were paid off, but in any case, not by me, but
I doubt
with my
that.
skill. But
But
you know me, katas have always been a struggle with
yeah,
me, and that's why for I remember my 8th test, I wrote the book. That was one of my tests is write the book, but
yeah,
also, hey, you got a couple weeks to get this kata and get it down. You were
exactly,
challenging me to
yeah,
do it, and I had to
right.
really work at it, and it was difficult,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah,
good
I'm glad it
actually.
looked good. So,
Yeah, and that's good to be
but
have things difficult, but not when
yeah,
if you just say, "Hey, Ken, go out there," and even on and I can't leave my leg up there all the time now.
right,
I can go up there and do a showmanship thing with no problem, make something up.
right.
You know,
Yeah.
yeah. I
Yeah,
don't.
I'm with you. The weapons cutters just irritate the crap out of
Oh
me,
yeah, yeah.
especially the bow. Maybe not so much the other weapons, but the bow, these little toothpick looking
Yeah,
bows that doesn't weigh anything, they just irritate me. Um, Now the empty hand katas, I kind of like as long as they're traditional kata, and like you said, that has maybe three key eyes in it or something like that. And you can see it like on Team Japan when they get out there and
right.
all three of them are doing the kata,
Yeah,
and they're synchronized and stuff. That stuff has bunkai to it. I mean,
right,
it's real moves. In
right.
some of the moves are self defense moves, some of the moves are attacking moves, some of the moves are defensive moves. And if you understand bunkai and understand all that stuff, empty hand kata is beautiful. I
Right.
love to watch a
Yeah.
good empty hand kata as long as they don't start screaming, like they've just been knifed,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
15, 20
Yeah.
times,
Well, and
you know?
that's yeah, and the I just call it the Olympic karate system now. It used to be
Yeah,
AAU, at one time, and
right. Yeah.
that I don't mind as much because they do these traditional katas and the precision is just beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but once in a while you'll see these regional American karate tournaments, and they're very much
Uh-huh.
like the ones in Britain, by the way. These type of where
Yeah,
someone just puts on a tournament themselves, hosting it,
right.
and that's where you get a lot of these other people coming in because the Olympic karate they're more structured. They're more like
Yeah,
we what are you performing, what's allowed,
right.
and then
Yeah.
you get these other ones where they'll let anybody allowed,
Oh, yeah.
and I remember, and I say this as a Christian, so I'm a Christian, but I went to a tournament. I took my students when I was in Southern California, stationed at Edwards Air Force Base, and had opened up my school my last 2 years I was there, and I took some of my students to a tournament, and there was this dojo, and the guy probably meant well. He was a Christian guy who had his dojo, and he had developed his own katas, and they're all named after a book of the Bible.
Really?
So, yeah. So there was
Wow.
Genesis, and it was Exodus, and it was Leviticus, but there's no
I've never
association.
seen that.
Yeah, it was interesting, but there's no association of the kata to the name,
Yeah.
if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
I mean, so, and then you look at the kata and you go like, well, yeah, more resembles uh,
Yeah.
Southern California attitudes than it does anything about the Book of
Right.
Genesis. And so I kind
Well,
of,
you'll see people do those kind of kata at places like the U.S. Open in Orlando
yes,
at the Disney
yes,
World Resort, the Battle of Atlanta.
Atlanta,
You'll see them being all flashy. I don't get into the flashy. I'm like you. I like the precision and study the kata, study the bunkai of it, and the precision of that kata
right?
and what it really
What it
means.
really means, right?
This flashy crap, I could care less. You
I'm
do that
curious.
during one of my belt tests, and I'd stop it until you get the hell out because
Yeah,
I can't stand that
no,
mess.
I can't stand it.
You
And
know.
and I like I said, I don't mind a flashy performance at
Hmm.
an event that's meant for that, but for competition, I think it becomes a perversion. On the good side, if you get people who practice really good kata, and often they win because I think a lot of the judges want to see a good
Oh
kata.
yeah, yeah,
I think a lot of the judges sitting there are like, oh, not another one of these. I've talked to them,
yeah.
matter of fact. Now, I've not been at a tournament and judged in about, I think it's 2016, 2017 was the last time I did one.
Mhm.
It's been a while. Uh, and you talk to most of the judges, most of them are like, oh, not another one of these two,
Yeah.
unless they're from that school,
Yeah. Well, I
then
don't know how it is around where you live at now or where you're from, but I know here in the southeast, most of the tournaments are going to. I mean, they're separating things. They'll have like contemporary weapons katas, contemporary empty hand katas. That means you can do whatever the heck you want to. You can scream as
hmm
much as you want to, do all these flashy moves and stuff. And then they'll have traditional
right.
kata,
Yeah.
traditional kabuto, which is the weapons kata, and stuff like that. So it's putting things in the proper category. If you want to do this flashy stuff, do the contemporary one. If you want to stay with tradition, do the tradition, and they'll even take it one step further. And a lot of tournaments are doing this. If you do a traditional kata, you also got to wear a traditional gi. You can't wear this flashy, silky pajama looking pants and and all that crap. And
Right.
I guess people's understanding that I'm more of a traditionalist by listening to me describe keys and
Yeah.
stuff. But
Yeah.
I mean, it is what it
Yeah.
is.
And
And I'm not a big fan of point fighting neither.
right.
If point fighting was the way it was when Chuck Norris point fought,
Hmm.
I'd be a fan of it because those guys and I fought during that time in point tournaments, but you actually hit someone.
Hmm.
Now you can just you can come that close, 3 4 inches, and jerk it back and scream like you're being knifed or something, and they'll stop it and give you a
Yeah.
point for it.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that on the kata one. Yeah, the last few I've been to, they categorize them,
Hmm.
and I found myself I didn't mind if I was invited to sit on a traditional one to grade that
Yeah.
because I don't perform it necessarily great myself. I can evaluate a traditional kata.
Right.
The athletic ones I think I can evaluate it, but I had no desire, and I wouldn't even watch
Mhm.
them. I would just go and visit with some of the other
Yeah.
people I knew from across the country
Yeah.
that I'd met
Same,
before and
same
visit.
here. I
Yeah,
hate to even watch them,
yeah, I
man. And
didn't watch them.
to
Yeah,
be honest with you, I don't even like hearing them scream when you walk in the auditorium or gym or whatever, wherever it is
right.
they're having
Yeah.
it, and all this screaming's going on. I don't even like to hear all that
No,
mess,
no,
man.
no.
Do a kia the way it's supposed to be done. Do a kata the way it's supposed to be done.
Right. Yeah.
Be able to describe the bunkai of it,
Yeah.
just in case
Yeah.
you're asked. But
Well, yeah. Well, it's funny you mentioned the point fighting. Is that I East meets West. I grew up on the West Coast.
mhm.
Just to remind
I'm the
audience
East
of
Coast
the
guy.
new, and on the West Coast, even in my day, it was I preferred full contact. Yeah, and you
Oh
you knew that
yeah,
when you trained me, uh, because in point tournament it was always in the West Coast. Oh, could have got you. I didn't, but I
oh
could
yeah,
have.
yeah.
And even in my day, it's more flashy now. But in my day, they would do that, and then they kind of raise their hand like they got
Oh
somebody,
yeah, yeah. And
oh,
they give them a point.
and they
Yeah.
give them a point. And so they're really kind of trying to get. They're not really scoring on the. They're not really winning always on the merits of their work. They're winning on the merits. Can I get the judge to later
Right.
agree with me? So again, I liken it to football. Sometimes you watch a football game and the ref throws the flag after the wide receiver goes, "Hey, he hit me,"
Yeah.
and then they show the replay, and the defensive back actually was doing a great job, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
he got the ref to kind of think in his head, and
Right.
we see it. And you know this because we're both in law enforcement and both did investigations. Memory's not videotape. So
No.
somebody can influence it, and all of a sudden you'll throw that flag. And
Mhm.
that's the same happens in some of these karate tournaments. Is that the
Right.
guy goes, "Well, that I grew up with that, and I couldn't stand it.
Yeah.
I could not
I can't
stand it,
stand it. Yeah.
because I could get somebody and not get the point, and I didn't have that in me to go ahead and raise my hand like I got him. And the West
Yeah.
Coast, that was predominant back in the late
Oh,
'70s
yeah.
when I started.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I've actually been in tournaments where they do that crap,
crap,
and
yeah,
that's exactly what it is. It's all
oh,
crap. And here's the deal. It goes, and I'm not saying that tournament has got to be ran to meet the way that I teach class, but here's how I teach class. If you're fighting someone, it doesn't matter whether they miss you by an inch or by a yard,
right,
as long as they miss you, you
right,
know. So it for our kids, or and I say kids, but kids and adults, for them to fight the point fight tournament, it kills the concept that I'm trying to teach. I don't care how far it misses you, as long as it misses you, But in these tournaments, it's like, man, if I can get close to them, they're going to give me the point.
right,
I believe if you want the point, you got to, jack someone up with
right.
something, a punch or a kick,
Well,
not just come close to
and
it.
especially when you get to adults, and I think
Oh yeah,
this is the thing too, is that I understand they want control. We don't want to hurt everybody. That's full contact,
yeah.
and that's another
But
discussion
you can
which I love
still hit
more.
someone with control
Control,
too,
exactly. That's the thing. And if you really, you can still pop that headgear,
right?
good control, pull it back,
And
not
not
hurt them,
knock their
and
head off,
not knock their head off, and show great control. But we would have
right?
known you could have done it. But when you
Right?
miss and they still give it to you, they says, "Well, they could have got him." Well, we don't know that for sure until they actually get
No,
him.
because it never
It
happened.
never happened.
You don't know it for
You don't
sure,
know, but they will though. Or, oh no, that would no, you don't know it would have.
right?
And I think they got to make some sort of contact, even if they pull it,
Hmm.
and if they train well with enough of their feet, they can do the same thing. I could
Right?
when I was
Yeah,
in tournaments,
yeah.
I could just tap somebody if I wanted to, and I
Hmm.
could also pop it hard if I wanted to, and so on that end, it drives me up the wall. On the positive end, I will say this as someone who has been a real critical of point fighting karate, both the Olympic level, even though it's different, and the American point karate scene. Is that for learning distances though for fighting, the bridging and closing the gap and movement is probably one of the best ways to teach people how to manage their distance in the karate world. That I got to give them. Uh, uh, I've seen some point fighters that I would never believe could transfer to full contact, but they did it well, and then they had an advantage because they really knew how to, blitz in and out and move to those angles. And I think of someone like a Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. I think he's out of South Carolina. Point kickboxing and MMA could learn to do it all, but started in really kind of that point fighting circuit, and that's the positive of point fighting. And I go, okay, that got a really good point there. I don't know what your thoughts are about managing distance for that.
Yeah, and I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't have something against everything that happens at
Right.
a point tournament because I mean, I still take my class tournaments. We're going to Hunchy Danny McCall's tournament at the end of the month,
Oh, cool.
you know, and I still like taking my class to point tournaments, and I still enjoy point tournaments, and I think point tournaments still has something positive to offer as long as the person that's running that tournament runs it the correct way. This showmanship, to me, that's not positive.
Right.
I mean, actually, if you want to get right down to it, showmanship is against the Bushido Code. So how can you say, "Oh, we train Japanese martial arts, we train by the Bushido Code," and then you want to get out there and only thing you know how to do is part of the showmanship crap?
Right. Yeah.
That's not part of the Bushido Code. That goes against it. But I think it is a good way to socialize
Mm-hmm.
with people, meet new people, like you were saying earlier. I think it's good to have some competition. I just happen to believe that if you're fighting, you need to be,
Fighting.
yeah, you need to be fighting. You need to receive contact and give contact
Right.
and not just get a point just because you get somewhere close. I believe in a kata that the kata has to have bunkai to it, practical application. Outside of getting out there and doing a couple of crazy ass moves, or flips on the floor, like you're with the U.S. Olympic team or something, and then screaming like a panther. To me, that's nothing. And then to use these little plastic bow staffs, what maybe weighs a quarter of a pound or something,
Right.
that's nothing. None
Yeah.
of that stuff is practical. None of it will help you on the street whatsoever. None of it.
Right. Yeah.
And I'll argue that point with anyone till I meet my last breath in this life, you know, and I think I can make a good case over it.
Right.
But it is good to go out and socialize and develop friends and stuff like that.
Right.
And it's good to see like where you would match up with someone else as long as the matching up part, like I said, it's real karate and not this
Yeah.
showmanship
Yeah.
crap. And
And
I've had this conversation with other people before, and they're like, "Ah, you probably don't like point tournament because you could never win at it or you've never won at it." And I just laugh my butt off at them. I'm like, and I've told one or two, I'm like, how many friggin' tournaments I've won at
yeah.
point fighting, continuous sparring, whatever, weapons, empty hand kata. You just try, you're talking out your butt because I hate these people. It's like, you just don't like it because you're not good at it, or you don't like it because you've never won. I have won so many friggin' tournaments, grand championship tournaments. And another thing, how is it that my students in my dojo here in Sparta, North Carolina, can go to point tournaments and just take the place?
Right.
I mean, they're just tearing them up. They're winning uh, so many first place or second place. I mean, everybody, usually at every tournament we go to, everybody places or wins,
Mm-hmm.
and if you don't know how to, if that's something you've never done before, or if you're not any good at it, you can't teach somebody else to be good at it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So my student speaks for my background,
Right.
you know,
Yeah. Well,
I
there's a
mean,
yeah.
my background, so
Right.
you can speak to it from an instructor's point of view, but I hate just yeah, you don't like it because you're not good at it, or you can't, you know, or something. I'm like, oh, okay, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
with you.
Yeah. Well, it's
I
funny you
don't
say
like
that
it
because
because it's
I,
pansy.
yeah, I've
Yeah,
had people say that to me too, but I take my students to it because I want them to be
yeah,
exposed, even the things
right.
that are not what I'm best at. But I told them this,
Yeah.
and I was not a big point tournament person, but the
Hmm.
few I entered in the West Coast and the few I've entered afterwards, uh, I did better at those than what I loved more, which was full contact karate.
Hmm.
The bare knuckle knockdown karate. I love that more, but I didn't do as well. I mean, I didn't do poorly in those either. I didn't get to go to a lot of tournaments, but the ones I did, like in Okinawa, I placed in the top 12, I think it was, which is out of 100 people, wasn't bad.
Oh yeah,
But, but,
really good.
but, I've taken first and second and third in point tournaments,
Oh
but a
yeah,
lot less work. But I like the full
yeah,
contact more, even though I would not do as well. And,
right.
and, and, and no, it's just, I like the full contact.
Yeah.
And of course, a lot of people in the full contact world, that's all I mean, they're doing that. They're getting sponsored even back then.
Hmm.
And they did more, but I like that world. So when people have said that to me, I go, like, no, no, actually, I did better in the point fighting than I did in the
Yeah.
full contact tournament
Yeah.
world. But I like the full contact more, just
Yeah.
like I like kickboxing more, and
Right.
while we didn't have like huge careers, we fought mostly in East Asia, it wasn't big promotions, whatever, and we did
Hmm.
both very well there. But when people do say, but no, it had nothing to do with success
Yeah.
because I was successful when
Right.
I did it.
Right.
It really has to do with I don't like it as much, but I
Right.
love the camaraderie that it can, the
Right.
exposure to other styles. I think is
Yeah.
important for students, and it's
Right.
important for us karate instructors to support other good martial art
Right.
instructors who are holding
And
tournaments. You
and
know,
I'm glad you said that. We in our class in the 12-month period, we'll typically go to anywhere between 4 to 6 tournaments a year. I know some schools that every weekend they're going to a tournament. They're traveling, going somewhere to a tournament. First of all, I've never asked my parents to pay that much money to go to a tournament every weekend. Second of all, my karate class does not solely concentrate on tournaments because we
hmm
concentrate on the betterment of each individual self,
right?
rather than going to a tournament and stuff. And the tournaments that we go to, like you just said, the tournaments that we win, or that, well, we win a lot of them, but the tournaments that we go to is typically they're the tournaments where whoever is putting it on is a close friend of mine, or we got some kind of relationship with them where we go and support them. We don't go just to be like, let's go to X amount of tournaments this year. We don't go to tournaments for that. I usually take them to the tournaments to support whoever's putting it on because I'm friends with them, just like Hanshi McCaw's at the end of this week. I'm sorry, at the end of this month. Hunchy and I have been friends for a while, and I think the world of him. I think he's a great instructor and stuff. And Hunchy's got a very, very, very good career in the martial arts, very successful career. And I like his first name's Danny. I like Danny McCall. I just love Danny McCall. He's good people.
hmm
So the only reason I go to Danny McCall's tournament is because Danny and I are friends, and he
Right,
does put on a good tournament, and I'm there to support Danny.
right,
It's not. I don't like to focus solely on tournaments. I think there's better things to focus on
right. Yeah,
personally, and that's just my personal opinion.
yeah. No, I agree. I think they can be good, and I think I do when a school says, "Well, we never go to tournaments." If they're an American freestyle karate school, that would make a warning to me. You need to go,
Mhm.
let
Right,
people get exposed. You're something now. You're hiding
right,
something as an instructor. But
yeah.
I agree with you that it's great to support those instructors we know are good and honorable, who have a good program and are trying to do good things. The
Well,
one thing
instructors should support
we
each
should
other.
each other, right? And
A good one.
a good one, right? And the one thing I'll end with this one, and then we'll just to let you know, the one thing I warn all my karate students is bring your own food. Do not
Yeah, yeah.
do not get food there if you're competing.
Hmm.
But because there's always those people who are they're trying to make money. I have no
Yeah.
problem with that, but they're always trying to uh, make a little bit extra money. So they got
Oh yeah.
their own form of nachos or hot dogs, and they got this horrible food. And it may taste good, but if you're competing, it's the worst thing you can put in your gut. The
Yeah.
worst. And I tell them, nope.
Yeah.
Bring your own food that you know you're not going to throw up. You're not going to get an
Yeah.
upchuck. It's not going to weigh you down. It's not going to make you
Hmm.
slow. Bring your own food and substance. Do not rely. Now, after you're done competing, if you want to go with the
Yeah,
nachos and cheese
indulge
and
yourself.
indulge yourself with the Coca-Cola, have at
Yeah,
it. But bring something else until that point.
yeah,
Because I've seen it where they got, the the chips with the cheese and the
yeah.
Hormel whatever chili that they poured on
Hmm.
top and they warmed it up and said, "Here you go." And then
Yeah.
I've seen I've seen I've seen a couple people in the sparring, they get nervous and they throw up right before they start,
Wow.
and
Yeah.
what they threw up. They threw up those
With all
nachos they
that
ate an
crap they
hour
just
ago.
got through eating. Yeah.
Yes, they did it. They got turning in that stomach, and you're just
Yeah.
like, oh no, it's horrible. So,
Yeah. I'm with you there.
it's pretty bad. Yeah, I tell them don't, and I usually tell them too. This is listen, if you can avoid that food, we'll go somewhere afterwards.
Oh, yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like you. I like going somewhere afterwards and
Yeah.
discussing the events and having fun
Yeah.
with my students and other
And that's
colleagues.
what we usually do after every tournament we go to. We'll be like I'll tell one of the parents, "Hey, do you want to organize, find some place around here?" And we'll go there as a class and sit down and eat and laugh. And the tournament training's over with. The tournament's over with. Just go enjoy each other for a few minutes. Have break bread with each other and have a
Exactly.
good time.
Yeah. Well, everybody, thank you for joining us here on East Meets West Martial Arts. Hope you enjoyed our conversation again. Please hit subscribe and watch us. Pretty soon we'll be going live and would love to hear your comments. So hope you all have a great day. Thank you so much. Us.